Good evening. We are here with some very special partners to talk to you about some resources that hopefully will help to supercharge you all's efforts in making Atlanta the best place to raise a child. I'm Janine Lewis. I serve as Senior Advisor to the Mayor for Youth Development and Education Policy, and I am joined here by Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens, President and CEO of Student Freedom Initiative Incorporated, Mr. Keith Schultz. President and CEO of the Urban League of Greater Atlanta, Ms. Nancy Flake Johnson. And thank you for hosting us, Gathering Spot. We've got Ryan Wilson, CEO and co-founder of this beautiful establishment.
I work here, thank you.
You just work here. So tonight's conversation is really about wealth inequality and innovative solutions in ways that we can support our young people and those of you who work with young people to make sure that they have all of the resources necessary to thrive. We're gonna start with Mayor Dickens, because recently Mayor Dickens announced a life-changing, innovative, transformative initiative that I'm sure you've heard about, and if not, seen headlines about, entitled the Neighborhood Reinvestment Initiative. Mayor, let's talk. Why was it important to launch the Neighborhood Reinvestment Initiative, and what does it really have to do with youth?
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I'm glad to be here with all of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Janine, for getting us all together, and to the Gathering Spot, Ryan, for hosting us tonight. Listen, I was born and raised here in Atlanta Public Schools, educated me. My family's from here. This is home for me, and I've seen this city for many, many, many years, for multiple decades, and I can tell you that it's time to turn the page on A Tale of Two Cities. This city has a north side that is different than the south side of the city. There's a dividing line. It pretty much goes diagonal from northwest Atlanta down to southeast Atlanta. And if you're on the one side of that, you have a 20-year life expectancy that's shorter than the other side of that, depending on zip code, et cetera. Atlanta is a thriving city, though. I mean, we are growing like crazy, but what we lack is balanced growth in some areas. Balanced growth. How do we make sure that this growth is balanced for children that are not of high financial income communities or families? How do we make sure that businesses are invited and thrive on the south side of our city? How do we make sure that there's housing that's built for everybody, for all income levels across this city? And so we've been doing a lot of work over the past 3+ years of my administration to try to right those wrongs and overcome those things. As you've seen, we've done a lot with affordable housing. We've done a lot with youth development. We've done a lot with public safety and a lot with economic development and building housing and doing all these things. And it's been making a big difference. You've seen the results in 44% reduction in homicides, almost 12,000 units of affordable housing built or under construction right now. A lot is happening. And Atlanta Public Schools, through this great group project that we put together, has the highest graduation rate ever, 90.5%, 3 percentage points higher than the state of Georgia. Even Southside schools, Mays, Douglas, Mays, Douglas, Carver, Washington, all these schools, this year, the graduation rates have gone up because of working with some of you and, of course, working with the great Atlanta Public Schools. But what we want to do is concentrate that even more. My formerly Chief Policy Officer, now Chief of Staff, Courtney English, his team had been working on these things, and we said, let's solidify it. In certain areas, we have the ability to make a huge amount of investments that will make a huge impact. And so that's what the Neighborhood Reinvestment Initiative is all about, is taking the whole of government, taking our nonprofit partners and civic partners, as well as our business partners, and saying, in these areas, we're going to be people and place-based decision-making and investments in people and places in a meaningful way that's going to drive up economic enhancements, affordability, as well as youth development, childcare centers, grocery stores. All of the above is how we're going to invest in that. We're going to bring energy to these spaces, and we're going to do this development without displacing the current residents. They're going to see this benefit of these new amenities and activities.
Mayor, can I ask you a tactical question? How is the city going to ensure that these investments truly reach the neighborhoods that have been historically left behind? Like, how are we going to make sure that that actually happens?
Yeah, I mean, growing up and being a person that's been leading communities around this city for years, you know where the spots are that we need the investments. And the great thing about these communities are that a lot of them have great neighborhood associations, NPU leaders, great quarterbacks in these communities. They just didn't get the investment. So they have plans, they have strategies, we have these studies. These communities have been poked and prodded by organizations and consultants and folks for years. They've been in church basements and school cafeterias with sticky notes and flip charts. Y'all know how, you go through these charrettes and these, they've put sticky notes, and they've come up with, if I had a park over here, if we had a grocery store over here, if we had a childcare center here, if we had some sidewalks over here and a trail over there, they have put these plans together. And they have been, some of these plans are 15 years old, 20 years old, 10 years old. And in many cases, these plans have only scratched the surface on delivery. They've gotten 10% of the 100 bullet point list, or 5% if, in some cases, maybe even 15%. But we're saying these are programs and projects that the community has already put the input on. It would, the worst thing to do is try to design this for them without them. This time, we are taking what they've said they need and want, and we have rolled it up into a list of dynamic projects. And what you'll see is a through line in some of these neighborhoods. They want pretty much the same things. And what has happened in the past is, if you're a nonprofit leader in youth services, you say, we just got to get them kids in programs. And we do that, and it doesn't change the whole dynamic of the neighborhood. If you're somebody that's in housing, you say, we just got to build some housing for these people. And you do that, and the needle doesn't change. Well, if you're in workforce development, everybody just need a job. I'm going to go out here and do a jobs training program. You do that, and you don't change all of it. And so for us, we say we need to do all of the above at the same time. The food folks, if you're a food bank or you're a food provider, you say everybody needs to eat. We got to bring a food program. Well, you got to do it all at the same time so that the concerted efforts and people see the benefit and they lock in and support the initiatives. And one of the ways we want to do that is through tax allocation districts. Each of these areas already has a current tax allocation district, which is how we've been over the last 3 or 4 years producing some of these results that you've been seeing, which is already a great momentum. But those tax allocation districts will expire over the next 5 or so years. So what we want to do is extend those for another 20 plus years so that we can really see the benefit of the outcomes of those programs.
Can you explain what's an example of a tax allocation district?
Great question. So if you were here prior to 2006, let's say, that place that is now Atlantic Station used to be Atlantic Steel, an old steel mill that ran its course after many decades. The business operation decided no longer do we do this business anymore. So there was just an old raggedy, rusty steel mill near Georgia Tech. Between 75, 85 and Georgia Tech was this old steel mill. And it had rust in the ground and hydraulic fluid and everything else, right? It was what we call a brownfield. But it was huge in the heart of the city. Now you see what it is. It's mixed use, mixed income. It's got movie theaters. It's got housing. It's got restaurant, retail. It has, all kinds of amenities in it. Lots of apartments, lots of housing, a Target, a Publix, IKEA. The tax allocation district, TAD, created that. So what you do is you say on day zero, this old rusty steel mill is only producing like $25,000 in city taxes. That's it. Today, how much does it produce right now, Atlantic Station? About $28 million a year now in city taxes. So you say, we're going to make a tax allocation district and we're going to take the future growth of this area based on these plans of what we will develop, and we will reinvest that over and over and over again into that community until it doesn't need our investment anymore. And so that's what Atlantic Station was. You wouldn't have just had anybody just say, I'm going to come here and make Atlantic Station a thing if they did not have an incentive to do that. Same thing with Camp Creek Marketplace. Camp Creek Marketplace was just dirt and, nothing. Now it's a thriving mixed income, all those houses back there, all those apartments, all that, Target and Party City and the Publix and the BJ's and all that. That stuff did not exist were it not for a tax allocation district. The Beltline is a tax allocation district. All that stuff you see on the east side, all that took incentives, those apartments, those housing, the affordable units, all of that took a tax allocation district. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to make that happen. And so now that the Beltline is we're completing the South Side Trail and the West Side, we want to make sure we have these incentives so that we can continue to carry out this goal of economic investment and economic development with affordability attached to it. Otherwise, the market would just run rampant and we would never be able to get back affordability and people will be displaced. So we want to extend these TADs. I hope that somewhat explains it.
So bottom line, TADs are good.
TADs are good.
We extend
and
TADs
don't cost the city any money. They don't cost you any money. They are basically saying, for this piece of dirt right here, we're going to continue to invest the incremental increase of property value, which leads to property taxes. As it continues to increase, because we're building things on it, we're going to take that increase. We're not going to spend it over here. We're going to spend it right here to continue to invest right here. So on Campbellton Road, as Campbellton Road rises, we take the tax benefits of that and we invest it back on Campbellton Road. As Campbellton Road rises again, we put it back there, and it stays in that area so that that area is a self-generating community versus taxes rise there and we might spend it over here, spend it over there. No, we're going to spend that incremental growth in that community. Same thing we would do for Donnelly Hollowell, aka Bankhead, Campbellton Road, Thomasville, etc.
I know that wasn't in the script, but
yeah,
great question. So when you think about the current climate where national unemployment rates are increasing, the city ramped up its efforts with the Summer Youth Employment Program. Why was it important to do that, and what does success for the Summer Youth Employment Program look like 5 years from now?
Being mayor is the funnest job ever. It is like, now it's a headache every day, but it's a fun job. Mm-hmm. It's all kinds of work every day, from can't see morning to can't see night. I work. I've been in the car at 6:15 in the morning, going, and I don't get home till it's 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. But throughout my day, some of the most impactful and just fulfilling parts is the stuff that we do for youth. That is literally like what gets me going. It drives me. I love y'all grown folks too. Now I don't walk out here saying the mayor said he don't love me. I love y'all too. But it's the young folks. And when I was going to college here at Georgia Tech and I meet anybody, they would talk about DC summer jobs if they were from Maryland or from Virginia or DC. Their first job, everybody was like, oh, Marion Barry gave me my first job, DC summer jobs. And I was like, man, I want to be able to do that because I knew I wanted to be mayor since I was 16 years old. So as I was 16, I was studying what other mayors was doing. Yeah, I know, it was goofy hobby. But I was studying what mayors was doing. And Marion Barry was given jobs. The first job that a lot of people had in D.C. was at the mayor's office. And he would send you to the Parks and Rec. He'd send you to Public Works, send you to the airport, send you here, there, whatever. And I was like, that's what we're going to do when I become mayor. And so we have raised this program to this summer. We had 6,000 young people making a minimum of $15 an hour in this city. And they were earning money while they were learning skills. And the average, because you get more as the older you are, so if you're a 19 or 20 or 21-year-old, you're getting, our average was $17.50 an hour. So this is great, and that's the minimum wage that we have set for the city of Atlanta for full-time employment. So why this matters is, when you ask me what do I think about it for 5 years from now, some of them are seniors and they'll go to college, and then they'll be 5 years from now, they'll be in the workforce looking for a job or working their first job, or their first big job, right? They're going to be thinking about how the Summer Youth Employment Program helped them, and they'll want to pay it forward. They'll want to make sure they look out for their nieces and young cousins or whatever, and it's going to be a cycle of supporting the community. And this is how you make this the best place in the country to raise a child. So when you are 15 years old, you're 14, you're anxious to get your job with the mayor's office. Then you graduate, you go off to college, and you get an internship with the mayor's office. And then when you graduate, there's all these jobs out here, and you take one of those jobs, and then you bring on an intern that's somebody just younger than you, and you have this cycle that's saying we look after one another. And there's no, people ask me, well, how did you bring crime down? How did y'all do that? 44% homicide reduction. Well, everybody's busy. 56% reduction in youth crime. 56% in 3 years. That's crazy. They are booked and busy. They got jobs. They got enough money. They got enough money to buy their food or their gaming machines or the little fun stuff. Oh yeah, and they're starting businesses too. Entrepreneurs. And so you got an ecosystem. And so, in short, my answer is I would say 5 years from now, you'll be able to see how well prepared these folks are. The business community is loving it because these summer youth employment kids are their workforce of now and the future.
Ryan?
Mayor, I'm going to switch gears.
It's time to talk about wealth and wealth inequality. And because if Atlanta's going to be the best place to raise a child, it needs to be the best place to go to school. And we know we have the highest concentration of HBCUs in the city.
Yeah.
Can I ask the mayor one final question?
Of course.
I'm sorry. Mayor, you're known for bringing people. There's no way I'm not going to talk about the money. She knows that we're definitely going to talk about the money. But you're known for bringing people together, right, across different sectors, industries. You're a bridge builder. Talk to us about why that's been important. And we're about to hear from two unique organizations doing great work, right, that you are helping to convene around this effort. But again, why do you do the work in that way?
Yeah, you can only go so far if it's just City Hall. I mean, City Hall is really, we're utilizing tax revenue to be able to give it back to you in some public benefit. But we also should look at how to grow that to be a force multiplier. How to get the business community to also reinvest into the community. How to get the nonprofits to be focused and have, hey, this is the direction we're all rowing in. You do a thing, but if you did your thing slightly like this, it'll be right in line with this. If you're doing it across the whole city, that's great. But if we're concentrating it on Campbellton Road right now because we got a crime problem, or we got a problem where we're trying to get more grocery stores, or we got a problem where we're trying to do this, that would really help us with an aim that we're trying to get. If you're into a certain segment, well, we got grants for art, and your art gallery like Zuccotti or something like that, we'll say, hey, this works if this can be lined up with this programmatic goal. And so I always say Atlanta is a group project. The mayor can't put an S on his or her chest and solve all these problems, but people want to solve the problems. People that are in corporate America want to solve the problems. People that are in nonprofits, the clergy. In this very room this morning, I had a big prayer breakfast with, something like 100 pastors, because I'm talking to them about how effective they are at messaging and how supportive they've been of my administration, because clergy has helped hire kids, support kids, train kids, seniors, etc., building affordable housing on church-owned land. We're doing all the above. But it's a group project. And so I draw circles, I don't draw lines. And so when we bring everybody together, better results come from that. And so the corporate community putting in their investments because they want their employees to live in safe and well thriving communities. They want their businesses to be in safe, thriving communities. So this is self-interest for businesses. You should hire an intern. You should go out here and help us, give out supportive measures for public safety or for economic development. You should do a grant. And then the nonprofits are so instrumental. We've given about $30 million to early child care centers, to after-school programs, and to summer programs in these last 3.5 years. That $30 million investment is why APS now has the highest graduation rate ever. It is not because the mayor or the school superintendent are perfect. It is because we gave money to people that, if you're serving 100 people, here's a grant so you can serve 120 or 150. Hey, raising expectation, y'all been doing this for 20 years. Y'all know what you're doing better than Andre Dickens will ever know about how to serve kids on the West Side. You're helping 200 kids every single day. Here's a grant, serve 250 because you are extremely effective. If you got an art program, if you got a whatever, we're gonna just help you do more, and that's gonna make our whole economic outcome and our whole public safety and our youth development outcome far better than the mayor coming up how to create. Like, last thing I'll say is, we have food deserts. And you call Kroger, you call Publix, you call these folks and you say, I want you to put a grocery store somewhere on this street. And they say, we're not gonna do it, the numbers don't work. And we say, why the numbers don't work? These people eat, they eat somewhere. Every last one of them are still alive, so they ate somewhere today. They went to the store. You want them all to travel to the north side to get groceries. They literally are leaving their community, going to somebody else's community to go get the most basic needs met. So we said, okay, we're gonna create municipal-owned grocery stores. And so we did public-private partnerships. We bought the land, and we found operators that'll do the work. We have the land, we build out the stores, we help them with all of the, we reduce their taxes, we give them low-interest loans. Y'all just go in there and do grocery stuff, and people will eat. And what we've seen is now we're going to be opening our second one real soon. That's the group project. That's the public-private partnership.
Amazing.
Well, the good thing, yeah. And those of you who registered and gave us your email addresses, you'll get an invitation because on the 18th, we'll be taking the third Atlanta bus tour to visit the municipal markets and meet with entrepreneurs. But Ryan, I know we want to talk about private partnerships.
We do want to talk about private partnerships. Before we do that, I want to show a video, right, to introduce.
Yes.
This is a bad brother that I have the opportunity to introduce in a second. But let's play this video that talks about what the work of the Student Freedom Initiative.
Where are you going after high school?
Any HBCU college that accepts me.
My family is making a grant to eliminate their student loans.
Paying off every penny of debt for the nearly 400 graduates.
As a proud HBCU graduate, I know firsthand the value of attending an institution like yours.
Now more than ever, we have to ensure that these institutions continue to thrive.
But we don't have a lot of money to pay to go to colleges. The more help we get, the more better our life will be.
We're going to put a little fuel in your bus.
Right.
Amazing. So we are very privileged to have Mr. Keith Schultz here. He was the project manager for Robert Smith's transformational gift for the 400-member Morehouse class of 2019. Y'all remember that? That was far too quiet. That was transformational. And he has a tremendous biography. I'll just say in short, 30 years of experience leading multidisciplinary teams within the federal government, the private sector, and the nonprofit sector, delivering integrated solutions to address complex and dynamic customer needs. My first question to you, Mr. Schultz. We're in Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta. I don't know. We're in Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta too. This is the home of some of the most well-known HBCUs in the entire country. Why is it important for you to be here in this city specifically?
First of all, thank you all for coming. Mayor, thank you for sharing the stage as well as those that are moderating. It's very simple. You have 3 of the crown jewels of HBCUs. Men of Morehouse, stand up. This is why. Are there women from Spelman in the room? Right? Morris Brown, Morris College of Medicine, right? Clark, this is the reason why it's Atlanta. There it is, there's Clark Atlanta. The French, my boy, fraternity brother, good boy. So here, this is the reason why we're here. We were birthed out of Morehouse back in 2019 when Robert gave his gift. Everyone knows generally what we were trying to do, but I'll sort of highlight what we were intending to do. Contrary to the 400 men who got the money, they weren't the point. That wasn't the point. The point was, yes, there's $1.7 trillion worth of student loan debt. Yes, there's 43 million borrowers. Yes, they even average around $39,000 each, but the problem is that delays fully funding a retirement plan by 71% of those people. 45% of those people also delay buying their first home, starting a family, having children. It's the wealth problem, right? It's not the student debt problem, it's the wealth problem. So our approach was, how do we address this thing we call the wealth gap and do it from what we call the lens of education? That's what we were trying to do. Had anybody ever done that before? No. Very hard. Engineers solve problems. Robert's point was, go fix it. I like working with engineers for reasons that people, process, systems, technology, governance, you solve those foundational issues and you can solve any problem. And so that was the challenge. That's why we chose Atlanta, because the crown jewels are here. We were birthed from here. My family is here, right? And so for me, it wasn't a matter of should we, but how will we? Because infrequently we have people who talk about what's the problem. Some even might talk about the solution. We wanted to be about doing it here in Atlanta, because this was our birthplace and the crown jewels are right here.
For folks that are interested in getting involved, right, what does that look like? How can the folks here get involved in Aware Fest or with the initiative overall?
I'm going to use Miss Pugh as an example. So if you would stand up, I'm going to use you as an example. The folks from the Hope, Operation Hope, we were having a discussion. You can stop. I just want to call you out. We were having a discussion. The comments, Mayor, that you made with regard to how do you achieve sustained transformational change? Individuals, philanthropy, public sector, private sector, all of those pieces have to come together as a holistic whole, the group project. That's kind of how you can all help. We were having a discussion, and frequently we are all in rooms, and we hear what's being done by others, and we don't use that as a, I don't need to do that. They already provide financial literacy, and they do it at scale. Paying off student debt, obviously, is a big deal, but people understanding the basics of financial literacy, financial planning, and debt, that is essential. No need for us to do it. Operation Hope, right? Ivana Jackson, stand up. Calling out another partner. Part of the issue, if you ever heard Robert's story, he started off as an intern. He was an intern at AT&T Bell Laboratories in Colorado, and he wanted to make certain that those men at Morehouse not only had their debts paid off, but the other 71 institutions that we currently have in the program across the country, as far away as Yukavik, Alaska, on the Arctic, right? And so he not only wanted the young men to have their debt paid off, but he wanted to make sure that those people who wanted 2 paid internships, the ability to upscale through a learning management system, we leveraged her program to do that. There was no need for Robert to stand up another program, to your point, where people are already doing it. Had you supercharged, where pour an accelerant on. So we pour an accelerant on Ivana Jackson and the work that she does with the Intern XL program, internxl.org, to actually make certain that these young people, regardless of the major and so forth that they're in, they get 2 paid internships. Because we know that if you get 2 paid internships when you're in college, the chance of you landing a job within 6 months of you graduating is a virtual certainty, right? And so that's our recipe for success. The recipe really is bring together the public sector, the private sector, philanthropy, and industry to actually work together to solve problems, to come up with solutions, not just talk about the problems, not just talk about the solutions, but as we did, we started with a pilot coming out of the Morehouse Gift with some 8 schools in 9 states. And then we said, take that pilot, learn from the pilot, then scale that pilot to a larger number of schools, because I love all the HBCUs here, but there are HBCUs in Texas and Alabama and Louisiana and all over the country. What about, and in Florida. And at FAMU was one of our, the Rattlers, for those people who are Rattlers, got it? Right? And so all of those students, picture this. What if you could provide a student an equivalent product to the Parent Plus loan? For those people, there's a stack of the financial aid stack, and take all the free money you can get. Then there's the federally subsidized, the unsubsidized, and what we found was there's still a gap of around $15,000. People tend to go down the Parent Plus path. What if I could provide you a product that was a 2 percentage point discount? What if I could provide you a product that had no origination fees, no cosigner, no origination fees, and if you made below 300% of the federal poverty level because you wanted to go work in the inner city school that you went to and don't make over 300%, what if I said you don't have to pay anything? But if you watch the video and Robert said, hey, I'm going to put a little fuel in your bus, but to your point, Mayor, pay it forward. What if, when you started paying that back, it went into what we call the Student Freedom Fund to make the same benefit available to future students? That's fantastic. That's not just great. That's applause for that. That's fantastic, right? Because frequently, what we do is we look out for self. Everybody wants a scholarship. I had scholarships that paid all the way through everything, right? And I appreciated it. But I also knew, after serving for 25 years in the Air Force, that something more than self should matter. What about your cousin that's coming up? What about your nephew that's coming up? What about name the person that's coming after you. If we give you $40,000, $20,000 maximum in a given year, starting in your sophomore year, up to a maximum of $40,000 sophomore, junior, and senior. And we give you that. We also make sure you have internships. We provide emergency micro-grant assistance such that if people run into a one-time issue that might throw them off track, to make sure that that doesn't force them off track. What if we invested all of that in you? Is it worth it to you to pay it back to others? Our answer is, of course it's worth it. Of course it's worth it. That's part of who we are. We wanted to make sure that as we scale the program to the point, we wanted to make sure that we invested in young people, that we invested in the institutions by helping them have broadband access on their campuses. 82% of the HBCUs do not have broadband on their campuses. McKinsey, that's a big problem in 2025, not to have broadband. So back to the how you make things work, we brought together our corporate partners who wanted to solve that problem. Cisco, $150 million, for God's sake. Solve the problem for the HBCUs who just had to raise their hand and said, we have a problem. Can you help us solve it? So if you are working to do something for the greater good, I'm a firm believer that, to your point, just like the pastors, everybody wants to solve the problem. Everybody wants to solve the problem because we've been talking about some of these problems for decades. And we deal with them piecemeal. The reason why our program is holistic, and I mentioned we provide a loan product, we provide wraparounds, because if you just address one problem, it doesn't solve the problem, it doesn't move the needle, right? Doesn't. You've got to be holistic in terms of how you address the issue of student debt, not for student debt's sake, but because of the wealth gap problem. 9.2x difference between people of color and their white counterparts in terms of wealth. And growing. So hopefully that sort of gives you a sense of.
No, you did. And I asked the mayor a tactical question. I want to ask you a similar one. How are the funds from AwareFest going to be dispersed?
Okay. AwareFest. Are any of you old enough to remember Lou Rawls? Lou Rawls? Okay. I'm old enough to remember Lou Rawls. Imagine, for those two of us that remember Lou Rawls, imagine Lou Rawls in 2025 and what he has access to do. That's what AwareFest is. increasing the awareness of people in terms of the power of our age. 3% of those colleges that exist, and 20% of, phenomenal for those who just don't get it. How do we provide the resources through something like a concert called AwareFest with 100% of the proceeds going to addressing the issue of student debt? That's what it's for. Our intent is to raise $100 million over 5 years as part of this overall campaign. We believe it's a movement. And I'll give you an example of how you all can help, because it's important that you all help. It doesn't matter whether you are a company, a nonprofit organization, what have you. If I say a shakaroni, do you all know what I mean? The pizza, shack, pizza? Picture 1 million of us, and there's more than 1 million of us who are allies across all of those sectors. A pizza is $10, right? $10. If 1 million people are contributing $10 a month, that's $60 million over that 5-year period just by giving up a pizza. Is the future of our young people worth sacrificing a pizza? The point is, yes, you can rely on the Reed Hastings of the world, the John Hope Bryants of the world, the Roberts, but we can all be philanthropists by giving up a pizza. And that giving up of the pizza actually provides this benefit in perpetuity for these young people. And so how you can help is, let's democratize giving. Let's sacrifice the Starbucks coffee. Nothing against Starbucks. Let's sacrifice the pizza once, because that's a small sacrifice to solve a problem that people think can't be. We can solve this problem. This issue of debt, we can, and that's $10 is $60 million. What if there's more than 1 million people who are allies that are giving up a pizza? This is a problem we can solve by all coming together. And we were having this discussion that there are problems we can solve, but we don't come together. Let's come together to solve this problem. And one of the tools we're using is this thing called AwareFest, because if we can bring together culture, entertainment, sports, business, finance, philanthropic, the city, we can raise more than $100 million. And that solves the problem. We'll stop talking about this problem and move on to the next challenge. So that's how people can help.
Amen. Everyone coming to AwareFest. I will see you there.
And it's in Atlanta. For a reason, it's in Atlanta. Back to the same question, well, why are we in Atlanta? We're a host, good community. Why wouldn't we want to come to Atlanta, given all the things that are going on in Atlanta? It wasn't even an option to why we would do it here. We'll give you the lineup later, so be on the lookout. Hit us up on one of the QR codes you see, but we'll announce the lineup here later. But suffice to say, think about 15 or 20 of the top artists across the country. Oh, I'll tell you that later. We'll save that for another day. But the point is, we wanted to make sure that we address every genre that might be of interest to a wide select group of the people. So you can imagine that in order to address something for people from college all the way through those of us who remember Lou Rawls, there's a lineup that's there that hits everybody in between. And so that'll give you just as a little teaser in terms of those who will be there. And it is here in Atlanta in March of 2026. And we're going to be here for the next 5 years. More if you'll have us.
Awesome. So hopefully you all are seeing this is a living example of the group projects. Mm-hmm. We've got public, private, and now we're going to talk about how nonprofits can access resources, the challenges facing nonprofits, so that most of you who may be nonprofit or community impact professionals in the corporate space, the mayor has recently launched the 3rd iteration of the youth development grants. Yes. And so I'd like to introduce Nancy Flake Johnson, CEO of the Urban League of Greater Atlanta. The Urban League of Greater Atlanta serves as not just our fiscal agent, but our main resource in leading technical and capacity building assistance. So I want to talk to you just for a little bit, Nancy, about not just the grants, because you can go to atlyearoftheyouth.com and read all about the eligibility criteria for the grants. The sample application is all online. But while we have Nancy here, I want to talk about some of the challenges facing nonprofits, particularly in this fiscally challenging environment, particularly for nonprofits that serve urban areas.
Well, we all know we've had a dramatic shift in public policy at the top all across this country, right? And so we're here in Atlanta. You know who we serve. So for any nonprofit, there's some key things you need to thrive. Resources, cash is one of them, right? But not only getting the cash, but you have to be accountable for the cash. And so, supporting small nonprofits to put the systems in place so that when you receive resources, that you can track where those dollars are going, that you can learn from the return on that investment that you're getting. For nonprofits to grow, investors, the city, other foundations, philanthropists, all of them want to know that you're going to be a good steward of those resources, right? So systems to track is important. All of you do good work. You create, you see a need, you come up with a solution, you put the resources and the people and the plan together, and then what drives it is the cash, right? The investments that you have to solicit and secure so that you can operate and make the impact that you're here to make. So program administration is critical, because having a good idea is one thing, but executing on that in a way that produces the outcomes that you're looking to achieve is another. And so operational management is really, really important. The other thing you have to do, many nonprofits rely on volunteers. So how you solicit volunteers, how you train volunteers, how you manage volunteers is really important. And then just really scaling. The whole thing is scaling, because we know we can help 5, 10 people. That's what you talked about, Mayor. But if we don't scale, we don't see the systemic change for the long term. It doesn't occur. What's so beautiful about what the mayor is doing in creating this pool of resources, it's a safe place where you don't have to be perfect to still get these investments. We look at the work you do it well. You may not have every I dotted and every T crossed, but we know that you're a good steward, you have integrity, and the outcomes of your work stand for itself. This coupling capacity building with the money is what really makes this special. And that's what Urban League was really excited about. Yes, we want to help funnel the dollars out, but more importantly, we want all of you to grow, because the needs of our kids and our families are growing in this climate. They're growing. And so our people, our communities, our children, our parents need us even more than ever before. So the fact that the mayor has sustained this support now for a third round of funding every year of his term speaks to his commitment. And so on our end, once we get the dollars, we know you're going to be good stewards of those dollars, and you can leverage these dollars to get more funds. So we want to teach you how to leverage. We want to teach you how to better manage your resources. We want to teach you how to build your boards and build your capacity so you can serve more kids. That's what it's really all about, and that's why we're here to partner with the mayor and the city of Atlanta and make this work. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Nancy. Let's give the Urban League a round of applause, y'all. Can I say a quick thing? We chose the Urban League the last 3 years to manage this program for us. So we dig deep in the city budget and find this money to help nonprofits. And every year it gets tougher and tougher. The federal government is not in the group project business right now, y'all. The federal government is not. They have stepped away from the group project. And Ryan and I was talking about we're going to have to get more, we have to learn how to fight better so we can put them back in the group project. But as of currently,
it's our money.
It's our money. The federal government
money,
takes our money. They're supposed to give it back to us in the form of grants and programs. But we can go off on a tangent about that. But they're not in a group project, so it becomes more and more difficult. And so what we have to do is, we're putting this money back out there to nonprofits, but we don't want you to just look at it as just, great, we got this money, we can go do stuff. We got the Urban League here that's going to really help you with the technical assistance, how to manage a board, how to help you be good fiduciaries and good stewards of this money so that you can leverage this money to get other money from the state, from the county, from philanthropists. They really will help you, and they have helped so many nonprofits in our past 3 years. Janine and Nancy and their teams have done a great job. So you're going to apply, or you're going to tell somebody to apply ATL yearoftheyouth.com. And every year we get a whole bunch of people apply. Everybody, we can't, everybody doesn't win the grant, but we have technical assistance for everybody. And we're just trying to do our part, y'all, to really help move the needle the best we can. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you, Nancy, for your partnership.
Thank you so much.
Well, we're going to transition, y'all. And before we do, this is uniquely Atlanta, and we should be proud of that, to have a great mayor working with a great organization like the Student Freedom Initiative and working with the Urban League at the same time to bring all of this together is tremendous. With that said, our mayor has another study group that he is supposed to be working with this evening. This is just one group project he's working on. So we're going to conclude this part of the conversation. But there's someone really dynamic who was just named as the chief of staff for the city of Atlanta that will be joining us. But please join me in thanking these three and my co-moderator here for a great discussion. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Aware Fest. We're going to do this. Aware Fest.
Introducing the youngest ever chairman of Atlanta School Board, the first ever chief policy officer of the city of Atlanta, senior advisor to the mayor, and now chief of staff for the city of Atlanta, Mr. Courtney English. And so, Courtney, most of the folks in this room have either read or been in the room when you have presented the urgency of now, making the case for NRI and investments in communities. Behind you, there is the map that the mayor mentioned that demonstrates the life expectancy gap for kids in 30318 and 30305. What is the call to action after hearing about youth development grants and hearing about this innovative solution to wealth inequality with AwareFest and Student Freedom Initiative? What do we need to do what do we need to do, Courtney?
I can use my Morehouse voice if need be. Oh, no, I can. I do have a Morehouse voice. I can
Men
just
of
shout
Morehouse are here.
No,
right?
So one, thank you, Janine, for your leadership, and Keith, for your incredible leadership, along with Robert, Nancy, my sister and friend, and partner in good. And of course, our 61st mayor, Mayor Andre Dickens. It's a pleasure. Thank all of you for being here. Look, I don't really have much to say because y'all already said it, right? If you look at the map behind me, if you were to draw a line from northwest Atlanta to southeast Atlanta, that line very quickly is going to paint a picture of a tale of two cities. And there are a variety of these maps that look like this that basically show that opportunity in the city of Atlanta is concentrated above that line. Whether you're looking at home ownership, educational attainment, incarceration rate, car ownership, whether you're looking at reading proficiency or math proficiency, whether you're looking at access to health care to folks who have diabetes, whether you're looking at folks who have access to internet, it's going to paint the same picture over and over and over and over again. Atlanta was essentially designed to segregate people based on race and class. And I say that with all the love and respect in my heart. I'm born and raised in the city of Atlanta. Went to the finest high school in the city of Atlanta, Frederick Douglass High School, for those who, Astros, for those, that's right, for anybody else who is confused. I say that with a great deal of truth in my heart, because we got to be honest about our problems if we're going to face our problems. And so this behind me is a massive problem. And what all these folks have been up here talking about are a variety of solutions to solve the same problem. Whether it's Keith and his team talking about crushing or solving the crushing debt that is wavering, hovering on the backs of our students. I'm one of them. So fix it, Jesus, help me, bro. I need to put me in the game for a $40,000 free return loan, or all that fancy stuff you said earlier. Or whether it's Nancy and her work in ensuring that community has a voice, but also ensuring that folks can get access to credit. Ensuring that folks can get access to home ownership, ensuring that our young people have safe places to play. It all gets at solving this map. So I grew up, went to school in 30318, and it's where I live today. It's where the mayor lives today. I graduated from, or I attended Collier Heights and graduated from Douglass High School. And just 7 miles away in 30305, there's a 20-year life expectancy gap. And the ultimate point I'm trying to get at is that that life expectancy gap did not happen by accident. It happened by years of malicious policy decisions that were designed to segregate us based on race and class. And when you do that over time, you end up with maps that look just like this. So now is the opportunity, and this is what the mayor was talking about earlier, through our neighborhood reinvestment initiative, to lean into neighborhoods that have been left behind. That for far too long have gone without access to health care, without access to grocery stores. Can y'all believe there's a city council district in this city? A city council district represents anywhere between 35,000 and 50,000 people. There's an entire city council district in this city that doesn't have a single decent grocery store. Think about that for a second. That's in 2025. And so what this effort, this $5 billion plan represents is an effort to turn those statistics around. It represents the largest investment in affordable housing in the city of Atlanta's history. It represents the largest investment in early childhood education in the city of Atlanta's history. It represents the largest investment in parks, trails, and green space in the city of Atlanta's history. It represents the largest investment in access to fresh food, the largest investment in access to transit in the history of the city of Atlanta, all targeted at communities that for far too long that have been, let me say it how I want to say it. It's targeted at black folk.
And we're clapping for the God honest truth, not for the targeting.
Yeah. We are trying to ensure that people in this city can live in healthy, whole, thriving neighborhoods. And so neighborhoods that they can work their way up the economic ladder, they can ultimately live choice-filled lives. And so really, we invite you to participate in this group project. It's the biggest group project we believe in the city of Atlanta's history. It's an opportunity to change all of these negative stats. But really, I also believe there's nothing wrong with the city of Atlanta that can't be solved by what's right with the city of Atlanta. And all of you are what's right with the city of Atlanta. And so we invite you to participate in that project. So you can go to atlneighborhoods.org and figure out how you can get involved and how you can reach out to your city council member or your school board member or your Fulton County Commission member and advocate that we want to change what this picture looks like. You can go to AwareFest and figure out how to solve my student loan problem. And hopefully when y'all fix mine, y'all can fix y'all's too. Keith, let me hold something, brother. I just need a little bit. I ain't got a lot. You can go to ATL Year of the Youth and figure out how to tap in with Janine and Nancy and the phenomenal work they're doing. But really, this is an invitation to participate in that group project so that we can build a city that works for everyone. Thank y'all.
Thank you. And Unless our two panelists will stay if there are questions. Hold on.
Nancy was telling
Courtney,
me
we
some
have a
good
question
stuff.
from the audience. Go ahead. The question is, what is happening on Tuesday, Chief of Staff?
Yeah, so Tuesday, we have a hearing before City Council. It will be the first public hearing, if you will, of the mayor's $5 billion plan to help solve the inequities that we have talked about in a variety of forums here tonight. That hearing starts at 1:30. If you want to sign up to speak, let your voice be heard, you can sign up starting at 1 o'clock. We would love to hear from you. Again, it's critically important. You know, I wish the mayor had all the power. Right, like we collectively are blessed, I think, to work for a guy who holds the highest office in the city, who wakes up every single day and thinks about one thing: how to make your lives easier, how to bridge gaps between the haves and the have-nots, and that's rare. That is a really rare thing. And Atlanta, candidly, has been blessed by a series of mayors who have woke up thinking about that thing. But if you ask other folks in other parts of the country, that's not a thing. You got folks who are leading cities who are thinking about other stuff. Folks who are leading states who are thinking about other stuff. And so if you want to lend your voice to this effort, Tuesday is certainly an opportunity to do that. Again, meet us down at City Hall, 55 Trinity Avenue. We would love to have you. I will feed you if you need food. But we'll be having a detailed conversation with our city council members about the importance of this plan, and every one of your voices matters to make this plan a reality. So
we'll see you on Tuesday
turn up
at City Hall.
Turn up at City Hall. Because
we say yes to TADS. We say yes to TADS.
It's not about the TAD. The TAD is one part of it. What we're saying yes to, the TAD is important, sure. What we're saying yes to is a city that works for everybody. I heard a question. We got some pushback on the neighborhood plan from some folks who don't live in the communities that are impacted, and they said, well, I had a government agency actually release a statement, Fulton County. I'll just tell you who it is. And they said, well, we've invested $500 million over a 30-year period in neighborhood revitalization. All right, that's cool. My response to them was simply, well, what's the price of freedom? What is the price of freedom for a kid who can walk out his front door and not into violence? What's the price of freedom for a parent who can walk out their front door into a job that pays a living wage? How much should it cost us to create a neighborhood where everybody, no matter what you look like, no matter who you love, or no matter where you live, can get ahead? What is the cost of that? Until that day, until we arrive at the day where that is true for every single Atlantan, we got work to do. We got more money to spend. We got doors to knock on. We got voices that need elevated. And so, sure, the TADs are a part of it, but it's so much bigger than that. We can close the book on A Tale of Two Cities and build a city that works for everyone, and we're saying yes to that. So.
I say yes. What y'all say? And I don't know if Ryan would be okay with that, but I think you need to drop the mic on that. If there are there any questions before we get back to our partying? I heard y'all in here. Okay.
One comment to make.
Yes.
I think the mic is broken. We have had the pleasure, and I mentioned this to the mayor before when we were in our private conversation, and for you all, for someone who is not here in Atlanta, because I'm not from here in Atlanta, but I have family that's here, I just wanted to sort of say publicly the same comment that I made to the mayor privately. We have had the pleasure of working with the mayor's staff here for some 6 or 8 months. They are fantastic. You are indeed blessed to have the team of people that are surrounding the mayor to help him make his initiative and bring his initiative to fruition. You have no idea until you've seen or interacted with others the blessing that you have. So don't take it lightly and don't take it for granted in terms of what Courtney is saying. I can say, having, like I said, we have these institutions that are across 71 different municipalities. This is rare. And so you should take advantage and help him achieve the goals and objectives that you've heard here in terms of changing this tale between two cities. So I just wanted to say that in terms of my departure. So thank you, all of the folks who work here, and for the mayor. It has been an honor, a pleasure to work with you all, and we are hopeful and we will be here. Because I believe that we are more than enough to address the challenges that have been discussed here and have been discussed in many other locations with regard to how do we deal with these issues that have historically plagued our community. We are more than enough to solve this problem. So with that, thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you all for showing up, and we look forward to the next opportunity we can come together and help solve some problems.